Han, feeling they need some practice before acting. But Doojin remains firm. If what I said works, why repeat the attack when needed? So we need to establish a connection to understand each other's intentions. Without harmony, we can't succeed. I'll ensure everyone synchronizes. Doojin shares they'll use their newly acquired skill, learned yesterday, the ability to manipulate. Han is surprised. Doojin suggests they might have met some condition to acquire it. This skill allows Doojin to control and synchronize actions, even with strangers. Han proposes to test immediately by revealing their mission: to destroy the boss's skin after Doojin ignites it to prevent further harm. Doojin will then summon Piz for her to ride. The excitement in Han's voice is palpable, akin to a child receiving candy from their mother. This spiritual connection skill affects the psyche significantly. Doojin explains that a lower-ranked ranker like him will be most negatively affected when connected with a higher-ranked one. However, if influenced by keywords, the negative impact lessens. Doojin offers something to Han, symbolizing affection, but Han misinterprets, causing an awkward moment. Han, though annoyed, accepts gracefully, reminiscent of a mentor. This triggers memories of a mentor in Han, affecting him similarly. Only one person left, the most pressure-inducing, Jupiter's guildmaster, Song Han. Doojin tries to influence him to no avail. Even his keywords have no effect. Before displaying the skill, Doojin announces his intent to use it on Song Han and urges him to accept. Halfway through, Song Han declines, causing Doojin discomfort. Han rushes to comfort him, sensing his fatigue. Doojin admits exhaustion from controlling 4 S rankers and a high-level beast. They must act quickly before Doojin collapses. Song Han, tasked with initiating the battle, stands atop a rock, firing an arrow imbued with soul force, but it fails upon hitting the boss, akin to a mere twig. After Song Han's opening, it's time to execute the plan. Full power regime. Utilizing the absolute blizzard, the second skill, unleashing the storm directly at the boss's neck, freezing not only the boss, but also the surrounding area instantly. Behind, Jae-hun is ready for the second strike, the Supreme Inferno, igniting a large area with scorching flames, burning the boss's skin at thousands of degrees. The heat is intense. Even Doojin, with his flame-resistant cloak, feels the difficulty breathing despite being at a distance. Han, riding Piss, is prepared to engage. It's time to charge. This is the perfect moment to engage. They only await orders from Doojin. Despite the immense pressure, Doojin is determined, calculating the perfect timing. Just before the boss's skin fully regenerates, powered by P's legs, Han, and the remaining flames from Do-han, and the timing for Song Han Jae's finishing blow. The secondary effect of the connection skill weighs heavily on Doojin, causing nosebleeds and weakening legs. Song Han Jae supports Doojin to move. We need to relocate soon. I know when to act. Focus on Han, and let Song Han Jae alleviate some of the burden. At this point, exhausted, Doojin leans on Song Han Jae for support, realizing the skill only works when touching him. Song Han Jae supports Doojin's body with one hand, summoning a precise time chain while Piss and Han await orders. Everything aligns perfectly. Doojin raises his hand, signaling P to charge at the boss's neck at the fastest speed, as initially planned. As the dungeon erupts, most monsters escape, causing severe damage to the world. However, most are low-level creatures. As time passes, the dungeon's difficulty increases, stronger monsters appear, and S-rank hunters begin to act independently. Soon, they'll have to cooperate, and that's when the system control skill comes into play, allowing them to connect and operate smoothly together. If controlled by an equal or superior rank, resistance may occur, but against weaker opponents, it won't be an issue. This skill will facilitate cooperation, even for F-rank hunters, making their first joint operation smooth again in the battle against the colossal giant cockroach. At this perfect moment, as the command to attack was issued, Doojin was already exhilarated, riding on Piss's back, shouting loudly, "Let's go! Piss! One human, one beast!" They charged straight towards the weak point of the giant toad. Doojin concentrated his strongest skills and force into his spear, then thrust with all his might. A thunderous collision echoed, reverberating through the shockwave, scattering dust and rocks around the frog's wound. gradually revealing its vulnerability. Jin continued to exert force, driving his spear deeper into its body. Everyone outside rejoiced as the plan was 3/4 complete. Standing atop Boss's back, where the black flame rose, though weakened, was still formidable. Despite Peace's support, Jin couldn't avoid injuries. Her body was significantly burned by the flames. However, this pain only fueled her excitement. Jin laughed heartily, feeling ecstatic. Ah, this feeling! It's incredible! His spear penetrated deeply, tearing through the tough skin, releasing a stream of green fluid like a tightly compressed water column. The suffering toad roared in agony. Jin had successfully completed his task perfectly. High above, Songham rode on Kwamkok's shoulders, while the task of finishing it off was assigned to him. Jin raised his left hand, wearing a reminder ring. With this ring, Then he unleashed his full force, activating the veteran's pressure coercion, sharing his proficient activation of skills, doubling Sungham's strength. Sunghamjim began to display his skills from his hands, each golden lightning strand intertwining into an SS-grade chain weapon, infused with the power of thunder, accumulating energy. Sunghamjim swung his hand forward, his skill now akin to a thunderstorm, striking relentlessly. Its power was unstoppable. Anything under it had to pay the price. After its execution, even Sunghamjim was astonished by the sheer dominance of his power. The electric current, like a heavenly punishment, struck down on the boss's neck, leaving it unable to resist, standing still, only roaring in pain. Even Jin, despite having a magical protective bracelet, felt overwhelmed by this terrifying power. Sunghamjim's eyes widened in disbelief at the overwhelming strength he had just unleashed. He cracked a smile, both sinister and satisfied. The thunder from his skill continued to strike incessantly. The boss now stood still. Its cries ceased, its back torn apart and irreparable. Its internal organs suffered immense damage. Its eyes turned white, lifeless. The giant figure collapsed, causing the ground to shake once again. Ah, we did it! There was joy, but everything wasn't entirely over. The boss's large body began to crumble and explode, sending chunks of rocks flying dangerously close, putting them in peril. At this point, all they could rely on was Sunghan's defensive power. Sunghan's growth conditions had reached a level where his speed, proficiency, and skill level had increased exponentially. He exerted his strength, creating an earth shield, a colossal wall that emerged from the ground, completely stopping the earthquake and thereby beautifully resolving the danger. Jin had already been brought to a safe height by Sunghamjim, avoiding the collapsing area. Only when he saw that everything was safe did he finally relax his body and mind. However, that was also when he collapsed under the immense pressure of connecting with 5 Van-level magic cores. He fell into a coma. Jin managed to leave a message before losing consciousness. "I'm done for. I need to rest for a bit. So, no fighting, okay?" With that, Jin completely lost consciousness. This dungeon raid had been successful, albeit with unforeseen dangers. Nevertheless, it provided the S-rank hunters with their first experience of teamwork. Though the battle had ended, the emotions lingered on. It was indeed a glorious victory. Excitement soared high, and worries vanished as the formidable enemy was defeated. They had truly accomplished the impossible, defeating an SS-rank monster that had never been seen before. Jim and Jin, always at odds with each other, shared a victorious high-five for the first time. After that celebratory gesture, everything returned to normal. However, Sunghan was now running around anxiously, hastily searching. Though supported by Sunghamjim, he was now completely unconscious. As for Sunghamjim himself, he couldn't forget the recent sensation, the feeling of his power at a different level. It made him ecstatic to have found a way to achieve that. Meanwhile, within the system, the girl with rabbit ears noticed a mysterious figure targeting Jin. They were equally surprised and unable to control themselves as space suddenly twisted. The SS rank monster was supposed to appear years later, yet it emerged unexpectedly. Then the system lost its image. A group of individuals is still striving to restore the connection to the image of the worried bunny girl, unsure if the wrongdoers have discovered anything yet. One person in the group calms down Tran Bin, making sure it's not done. The targeted location lies within Jin's world, where those individuals are. Someone has used teleportation skills within that world to search for him. Their identities remain unknown, but to use those skills, the user must at least be a ranker of SSS or S-Level. The system has also been restored on the screen, displaying the defeated boss image. The system is surprised by how quickly the boss was defeated. Suddenly, they feel tension in the dungeon where Ju-jin lies unconscious. At this moment, Hong Jae's intentions seem almost transparent. He desires that power, likely wanting to dominate Rin for himself. Not only is Ju-jin handsome, wealthy, and intelligent, but he's also very sensitive. Since knowing Ju-jin, he has likely harbored doubts about his true abilities. This incident further confirms his suspicions. If Ju-jin only has animal nurturing skills, then it's just a matter of waiting for the contract results. However, Ju-jin is certainly hiding something much bigger. He acts as if he knows what's about to happen in the dungeon, and his control skill appears precisely at the right time. Moreover, the skill-sharing ability could double their attack power, a strength I've tested. Can I go back before experiencing this power? Why is he human, though? If he were an item, I'd be able to control them more easily. Hong Jae's intentions become increasingly evident. He wants to dominate Ju-jin, and his desire to control that unique power is apparent. His actions surely anger Du-hun, who cannot overlook them. Du-hun feels uncomfortable, cursing the villainous character. Jim also shows extreme discomfort. He's saying nonsense. He seems tired. He suggests moving to Sung-han's side, where Piss is already poised for combat if needed. Du-hun angrily retorts, demanding that they face him head-on. Even though he has 4 teammates and an S-level beast, Sung-han's gaze remains cold, showing no signs of fear. In Hong Jae's mind, a dark thought arises. Should he kill him? His double damage skill is still active. If he kills them all and blames the SS-level monsters, he could easily take over Han-A. Frustrated, he points his weapon towards Sung-han, intending to take Ju-jin away. The control power Ju-jin possesses has truly captivated him, making him want to monopolize this special power for himself. His actions inevitably provoke Du-hun, who responds immediately. The tension rises further. At this point, Du-hun is not wearing a fire-resistant coat, so both sides have equal opportunities. Just as they are about to clash, Jim's ice band strikes, halting them. We need to get out of here quickly. Sung-han has helped Ju-jin, throwing him his coat and reminding him to act his age, not to treat younger ones harshly. As for Du-hun, he quickly takes his companion away. This incident only intensifies the tension between them. Du-hun's tone is filled with discomfort. From now on, don't even think about getting close to me again. However, Sung-han remains calm, almost indifferent. Well, that'll be difficult because I quite like you. This response makes Du-hun itch and turn back to glare at him. Without Du-hun here, they would likely fight endlessly. Although his actions are irritating, there's a positive aspect to them. He still cares about Du-hun, ensuring his safety. Jin also doesn't seem as weak as he appears. Even while sleeping, he grinds his teeth and scolds his junior companions. I said no more arguing. The dungeon has been cleared. Let's leave quickly. The dungeon raid ended, and days later, people discuss the news of the SS-level monster appearing in the dungeon. Participants' identities are kept secret due to fears of being disturbed by other hunters and the media. However, Kim Sung-han's promotion to S-level has made headlines worldwide regarding the participants of the dungeon raid. Du-jin thought that the system deliberately gave this item for some purpose. If next time in the dungeon, he would ask about its function. The recent story distracted Du-jin, making him forget about Du-hun's matters, but not for long. As soon as the story ended, he immediately frowned, looking puzzled like a pig undergoing castration. In Dungeon Level S, there were only 2 people named A and Du-hu dear. How dare that bastard do such a thing? Everything then settled down. Du-jin still had to stay in bed to fully recover. Sung-han always stayed outside, monitoring and protecting him. Worried when he couldn't sleep, he feared it might be a sign of memory loss. But in reality, Du-jin wasn't sleeping because he was planning to test some skills on Sung-han. BT was concerned, diverting the topic by turning on the TV, which was reporting that Kim Sung-han would be promoted to deputy head of the association this month. This surprised Du-jin a bit. Sung-han explained that since JJIM was still young and in school, he was appointed. This made Du-jin very happy, cheering for him. He wanted to celebrate, but Sung-han said it wasn't necessary since many people had already congratulated him, including the association and Hin Corporation, who even sent flowers. Hearing that, Doo-jin realized that Hin Corporation's CEO, Park Min-je, paid a lot of attention to Sung-han. Sung-han also told Doo-jin that he used to belong to Hin Corporation's association, which was under the Han-in Group. Park Min-je, who was his former colleague, had recommended him many things. After Sung-han woke up at Level A, he received an invitation from the company, and many people advised him to marry the chairman's daughter. However, after Park Min-je woke up to Level S, he met the chairman's daughter instead of Sung-han, and they got engaged. Park Min-je then became the head of the association, which was quite a cold story. Sung-han said that since then, there had been some tension between them. Sung-han's story felt like a romantic drama, so Doo-jin eagerly asked, with hopeful eyes, if he was afraid that his position as the chairman's fiancé would be taken by someone else. Sung-han said that in the congratulatory letter, Park Min-je expressed that he should stay with him forever. In the letter, there were some difficult-to-understand words that hinted at Park Min-je's intentions. Doo-jin tried hard not to burst into laughter, realizing Park Min-je's intentions. Sung-han was content with the present, thinking that Park Min-je asking him to stay meant he didn't see the association's hierarchy as a threat. He didn't like being in the spotlight and didn't want to make Han-in Corporation stronger than other associations. Sung-han continued his story in a relaxed mood, saying some people said he missed his chance, but he was satisfied with the present. He didn't want to be the head of the association. He felt more suitable for a supportive role rather than leading others. He assured Doo-jin that he would help his association head to the fullest. Doo-jin also realized that Sung-han cared a lot about others in the dungeon. He always took good care of everyone and was excellent at teamwork. The future of AB looked bright. Doo-jin smiled, feeling glad to have him by his side. Suddenly, while they were having fun, an ominous feeling arose, as if a ghost appeared. If he didn't have fear-resistance skills, he would have been scared several times. This would be heartbreaking if it breaks. Doo-jin woke up, so he went to visit Sung-han for the first time. He was a bit worried because this wormy-looking guy seemed quite strange. Doo-jin observed him for a bit, then spoke up, asking how his teleportation skills were doing now. The status window announced that the species fusion wasn't complete yet, and he needed a similar item with the basic element of each specific species. The explanation was quite confusing, leaving Doo-jin unsure of its meaning. He remembered that Junrin had mentioned that his basic element was water wheel. So isn't this item similar to the water wheel the exact reward for him? Could it be that the system deliberately gave this item for Junrin to use? He took out the Demon King's water wheel and handed it to Junrin. Holding the water wheel, Junrin observed it and then slowly said, "The Demon King's water wheel, huh? It really is. It's too old, even older than me." Doo-jin was quite surprised that Junrin knew about it. He muttered to himself, "The Demon King is something really scary, isn't it? With big horns, a giant body, and very powerful. Then I will become the Demon King." Doo-jin thought Junrin was joking, but he actually activated the water wheel immediately, and a stream of dark energy appeared. Sung-han hurriedly set up protective barriers, but soon after, he was engulfed by the purple air current, restraining his movements. Doo-jin, feeling terrified, screamed loudly, "What are you doing?" Jun's body had already begun to transform, with large horns sprouting atop his head and a pair of demon wings behind his back. Jun's once friendly face now wore a terrifying demonic grin. "I will become the Demon King," he said with a menacing voice. "My form has almost completely changed." The demon status window displayed an SS rank for Jun. Doo-jin still couldn't believe his eyes. Jun had truly transformed into a Demon King, reaching SS rank. However, Jin still felt a hint of worry, unsure if Jun would retain his sanity after the transformation. Jun's current demeanor was indeed intimidating, with his booming voice continuously proclaiming his Demon King status. Meanwhile, Dong Han, despite being at S rank, couldn't resist Jun's power. Instead, he found it amusing, laughing at the situation. "Ha ha ha! You're scared, aren't you?" Doo-jin, on the other hand, was worried about the reckless Jun. Suddenly, Doo-jin realized that Sung-han, although at S rank, was being controlled. He couldn't resist the control, but why wasn't someone as weak as Doo-jin affected? The earpiece Jin was wearing only provided a B-rank shield, yet the power emanating from Jun was enough to destroy an entire city. However, it couldn't touch Jin or the small area around him. Jin couldn't determine what was protecting him, realizing that only Chippy was left by his side. Jin suspected that this unconscious chicken might have some special power. Checking the status window, he saw that Jun was still affected by the transformation. Despite becoming a demon king, his tendency to intimidate people persisted. Jin still suspected that this unconscious chicken might have some special power. Checking the status window, he saw that Jun was still affected by the transformation. Despite becoming a demon king, his tendency to intimidate people persisted. Jin's thoughts raced. I figured out how to deal with this. When you were still a goblin, both Myung-yu and Kohei were terrified of you. Hearing this, Jun glanced at Sung-han. You weren't afraid of me, were you? He said mockingly. But others might be. Jin quickly glanced at Sung-han, giving him a signal not to show fear. Sung-han joined in the act, displaying excellent acting skills. That's right, Sung-han exclaimed. Goblins are much scarier. Just earlier, I was startled when I saw you in danger. Jin quickly followed suit, pretending not to be scared. Who's scared? I've lived for 100 years, but my mind is still like that of a child. I only excel in acting and a bit of manipulation. Jin's words seemed to calm Jun down, who looked at his Demon King image and muttered, "It's not really scary at all." To further influence Jun and Sung-han, who were acting in collaboration, Jin played along, laughing and acting like a child who had found a new toy. Ha ha ha! Then I won't turn into a Demon King anymore, Jun decided, just as the dark aura disappeared. Sung-han managed to escape, thinking everything would return to normal, but a new phenomenon occurred. This time, Run-Run's body emitted a pure blue light, and his demonic features gradually faded away. This time, I won't become a Demon King. I will become the King of Goblins, Run-Run declared as he chose a demonic mask he had worn for hundreds of years. With a crack, the mask broke, revealing a handsome face with long white hair. Run-Run, the Goblin King, officially appeared on the scene, adding another charming figure to the underworld. Looking at Run-Run now was like gazing into a charming lake, thrilled and excited. The Goblin King has appeared. Jin rejoiced because Run-Run had evolved, while Sung-han was relieved that everything was back to normal. Run-Run explained, I still have the power of the Demon King within me, but now my strength has increased, so everything is stable now. I have decided to become the Goblin King. Run-Run shared that he also had acquired new skills. Immediately after, Run-Run transformed into Rin, leaving Jin wide-eyed. However, this transformation only changed his appearance to mimic humans. It couldn't copy their powers and skills. Jin, uninterested in such trivial abilities, instead focused on the gate behind him, asking, By the way, what's that over there? Oh, that's a teleportation gate, Run-Run replied. Yes, exactly. How did you know? This is the Goblin Gate. Every 10 days, I can go anywhere through it. Actually, with this gate, it feels like I can connect to anywhere I want to go. So excited, Dune jumps up and down, crying tears of joy as now he can go anywhere he wants with this amazing teleportation ability. Investigating the dungeon will be as easy as turning his hand. Hi, then money will just flow into his pocket. Time to plan retirement. Dune smiles sinisterly. Now let's investigate the dungeon together. Sounds good, but suddenly hesitant. He refuses. Sorry, I'm busy now. Now that I'm a king, I need to go recruit my subordinates. I have to go around scouting the abandoned buildings. Come again. Surprised, he asks again. Recruit subordinates. Can you create goblins now? Forget it, he says, shivering, as he steps through the gate, leaving Jun behind. We need to speed up the research. If we spend too much time collecting subordinates, it'll be a waste. Why not investigate and recruit subordinates at the same time? Let's go to China and Japan. There are many people there to recruit. They nod and agree to investigate the dungeon eagerly, stepping through the gate. So when I gather enough subordinates, I'll come back. It's a bit regretful, but Dune still has to wave goodbye. With determination and a slight jolt, he mutters, Damn it, how many are there? He wonders when he'll finally return. Feeling a twinge of regret for letting him go like this, the scene shifts to the AB Guild building. At this time, Sin-dong is receiving a call from the president of the Hunter Association. After hearing the call, Sin-dong appears extremely worried. It seems like he received some notification from the president, possibly related to Do-jin and Hun, who are currently inside the dungeon. And curious, asks what's wrong. Is there something going on, Uncle Sim? Sim-dong explains that the association is sending a representative, contrary to the usual calm attitude of Ann and Sim. Worried, Sim-dong sweats nervously. It doesn't seem good at all. The president of Jupiter and Breaker. Although dangerous, this time the person being sent is a completely new danger, the head of the Awakened Food Management Department. The next day at Gym Hospital, when escorting, he frowned as soon as he entered the room. The room was desolate and messy, just after one short night's sleep. Doon said he was fine, but the dark circles under his eyes betrayed him. He couldn't sleep because he had to constantly check the skills board to see if his younger brother inside the dungeon was still alive or being hunted by redim wolves. He quickly found an excuse to scold. "Why are you here today instead of going to school, Jin?" Lying as a teacher ordered, but Do-jin already knew what had happened for Rain to be here at this time. It's not strange for Rand to act like this. Fake awakeners always have the ability to easily break the law, especially high-ranked hunters like Do. Hunters who are famous for breaking the law are even more likely to break rules. They are not bound by societal norms or physical limitations abroad. Large guilds have more powerful hunters than governments. Some guilds even surpass national governments in power. The reason this country can still operate smoothly is thanks to Chuanchu's existence. Do-jin reminded Jim to return to the guild hall. The guild said someone from the association would come to pick him up and escort him to the recently renovated training facilities. The only rank S belongs to the civil servants, who never give up their jobs even after awakening, continue to work for the Hunter Association. Despite invitations from major guilds, a former police officer who once arrested a high-ranking hunter violating the law. "You're the department head now," and Hun reminded him. "You always mention someone. Someone is here." The head of the food management department arrived and immediately made a strong impression with his massive physique. Standing in front of him, Ju-jin and Jim seemed like little people facing a giant. Watching the way he got into the Kia car, the car looked pitiful. Just starting the engine when a black car from the side was speeding towards him at an incredible speed, as if it had lost its brakes. The result was a traffic accident. Song's red car was hit and destroyed, but the person inside didn't know what happened. Do-jin suddenly felt scared. What the hell is going on? Don't say we just met and already have to spend money on a funeral. But nothing happened. Even though the car was smashed, I remained unaffected. Do-dun muttered curses under his breath towards whoever had the audacity to ram into this young man from atop the BMW. Its owner pushed the door open and stepped out. None other than the handsome and intimidating bad boy. Song Hong-jae appeared in a sophisticated manner. Song Hong-jae laughed amusedly. "Oh, excuse me, my apologies. Every time I see you cramming that hefty body into a car, I can't help but press the gas pedal, destructing property, plotting to assassinate a state official. What a refined amusement. Even if the car is wrecked, and even taunted like this, I remain calm." Jim's eyes narrowed as he saw Song Hong-jae, itching to curse or even punch this bad boy. Doon, however, worriedly intervened, urging everyone to disperse quickly from the hospital premises. Doon feared that with Song Hong-jae's provocative behavior, there might be a violent confrontation, but Song Hong-jae, aside from being an awakening fake rank, was also the owner of special investigation rights against hunters. In other words, he was a thorn in the side of the larger society. The blatant provocation like this was nothing new. Just send the medical bill to the society. Or would you like to take this car as well? Song Hong-jae sneered, dangling the car keys in front of Songdon. His demeanor was now deadly serious. This fan may have been expecting a brawl, but nothing happened, and yet he remains calm. "If I receive anything of value beyond a certain amount, it will be considered a bribe. Please wait a moment while I call the insurance company." So there was no skirmish at all. Even Doon was surprised. What was that? No fight. How strange. Ray's Jim was also taken aback. His eyes widened in disbelief. If it were Sister Huyen or our leader, this hospital would surely have become a pile of ruins by now. Look, he's still cleaning up the debris over there. Oh my God, what a model official. Doon looked at Taegon with longing and desire. Oh, completely different, a model police officer. His calm demeanor, it's not his first time encountering such situations, especially because of this handsome bad boy. Joo-jin glanced once, and Song-ham-jae knew immediately. He turned to look at him, then smiled friendly, making Doon blush. Are you okay? I've heard your story, Song-ham-jae amiably inquired. Song-ham-jae even brought a bag of nutritious sweets for Cho-jin. Jim quickly stepped forward, blocking it and he secondly accepting. Oh no, I can't take it. Criticizing people for their mouths, but constantly grabbing food. Indeed, everyone is equal. Doon didn't want tension, so he awkwardly smiled and asked, Why did you come here today? Oh, I'm here to pick up the dragon hatchling, Dong's thorny beast. She must have finished her training at the base. Would you like to come with me? We could visit and take a few laps, I said, speaking up. I'm the one responsible for taking them to the training base. Sung-hum looked at the wreckage behind, sneering disappointingly. Are you planning to take him with that pile of debris? Rough production is also a problem. You're the one who wrecked someone else's car, and now you're mocking. I didn't expect you not to care about someone holding such important skills like N guy. A public official should protect the weak, right? I'm surprised this guy who was so arrogant is now bowing and apologizing. Joo-jin felt Song-ham-jae's reaction might be a bit too much, making both sides awkward. You said you would call Abbas to pick up the rejected one. Song-ham-jae pretended to be disappointed, sighing heavily. Too sad, I've done this much and still got rejected. I thought we were closer. I treat you with all my heart, you know. Do you know? His gentle attitude made Doon feel justified. After all, he had given him many valuable things, earrings, and even brought sweets himself. Jim, on the other hand, always cheered from the outside. Don't give in to temptation, uncle. But it's too late. Joo-jin agreed to let him go. Jim paid more attention to Taegon. Although he didn't move a muscle, his expression was not comfortable. She noticed that he was focusing all his attention on Ji, not knowing if he had any other intentions. Then the whole group arrived at the animal care center, which was designed extremely meticulously. It was a large space with full equipment as well as greenery covering the roof, almost like a small forest. It was a perfect space for nurturing animals. Joo-jin immediately sensed its grandeur. However, there was one thing that made him slightly uncomfortable, introducing this place to Joo-jin. Every time someone said a few words, Joo-jin eagerly interrupted, not giving them a chance to finish, and started speaking himself. As soon as he saw Joo-jin's excitement, Dom was as happy as a mother returning from the market. He embraced a crib, laughing brightly, and hurried inside. In the crib was a newborn thorn-winged dragon sleeping. Dom was very excited about it, saying all sorts of things about this little dragon. Joo-jin used his observation skills and noted that the dragon currently had a level D index. Later, when it grows and develops, it could reach level A or S. Joo-jin took out the Master Stone, which immediately made the thorn-winged dragon friendly towards Joo-jin. It flew up onto his head and rubbed against him, showing affection. While everyone was focused on the dragon, they didn't notice a large shadow looming over Joo-jin's head. The griffin, looking quite angry, was seemingly upset. Perhaps because Joo-jin was holding the dragon before anyone could react. It landed on Joo-jin's shoulder. When it saw its owner again, it became cheerful and amiable. Joo-jin then introduced it as the new member of the family. While outwardly friendly, the griffin's display of muscles seemed to be trying to assert dominance, much like Peace had done before. Immediately, Joo-jin grabbed the dragon, causing everyone to gasp in astonishment. Joo-jin quickly reassured them, saying that it was just a traditional way of greeting new members of the animal family. Now he would distract them while Joo-jin helped him catch them. Joo-jin took out some toys that made noise, then started shaking and dancing with them, looking very professional. Clearly, this was a routine performance to deal with these mischievous animals. While everyone was busy catching the animals, Songtan stood aside, showing a strange expression. He tightly held Joo-jin's hand, muttering something indicating that something was wrong here. After much effort, they finally managed to capture the troublesome creature. Both holding hands, they rejoiced. Dong entrusted all his trust to Joo-jin to nurture and train the animals. Dong seemed very fond of his pets, making Joo-jin very happy. He wished his younger brother could also treat him as well. With everything almost settled, Doo-jin suggested the others should leave so he could get to work. Jim didn't want to leave, so he took the opportunity to follow Joo-jin's lead and urged the other two to leave. But in reality, Joo-jin wanted everyone to leave so that he could handle the matter with Song-ham-jae. However, this bold-faced guy wouldn't listen, and Jim even threatened to leave if they did. He stared at Song-tan, making Doo-jin feel uncomfortable. Joo-jin knew from the beginning that this guy had been observing him closely, but he remained calm, seemingly unaware. Doo-jin suspected that this guy had something to do with Chun, as he only appeared when he wasn't around. Perhaps he was investigating something. Joo-jin used the excuse that Tae was a public servant and wouldn't cause any trouble to cleverly dismiss Jae-jin. Next, Doo-jin turned to Song-ham-jae, mentioning how much he had contributed and suggested he should leave as well, making it sound like it was for his own benefit. Reluctantly, Hong-jae agreed to leave, with a hint of suspicion. Doo-jin hoped he didn't have any ill intentions. Finally, peace was restored at the center. Now it was only Doo-jin and Tan. Joo-jin invited him for coffee and began to speak. It seemed he had a lot to deal with regarding the S-level individuals. It would likely be more difficult, especially since it was his job, and T would expect him to handle it properly. This time, there were fewer dungeon explosions than before. The hardest part was dealing with the former hunters, who were uncomfortable facing the explosions. When two S-level hunters were in the same area, it was impossible to manage. Even with his special skills, he was just a pressurized person. That's all. Tan understood. So, Doo-jin guessed he was going to talk about his younger brother and asked in advance, mentally preparing himself not to be shocked. But when Tan mentioned that Doo-han had once blown away his arm, Doo-jin was startled, dropping all his belongings. Though the arm could be restored with wound healing medicine, it still made Joo-jin feel breathless dealing with his younger brother. Tan stood up and said he had been worried when he heard about the dungeon explosions with people like that. It's impossible to manage S-level individuals, and even with special skills, he's just a pressurized person. You are an easy target for them, being so engrossed in your coffee blending that you didn't notice when Tao positioned himself right next to you. Four eyes met as Tao spoke directly, stating the reason for his presence today. He was serious. I'm here today to assess, he said. So, answer me truthfully, and don't hide anything. Have you suffered any physical or mental harm from them? Nothing happened there, but I thought using the pressure of Class S would intimidate Dooin into speaking. He thought, but he didn't realize it was ineffective. Dooin smiled back and replied, no worries. It was quite a hassle to prevent them from fighting, but it didn't cause any mental harm. As he finished speaking, Songwon unexpectedly acted. He forcefully pushed Dooin against the cabinet, his large hands tightening around Dooin's neck. His eyes were cold, filled with energy, as he spoke coldly. I know I've been watching since the hospital, but the issue here is that Jun at this moment is bewildered. He's not here to talk about Do-H. What is he saying? Why is he suddenly choking me? What is his purpose? Is he really serious? Is he planning to kill me? Maybe Song-ham-jae knew something would happen, so he deliberately escorted Rin. This handsome guy probably didn't want anyone to harm the item he wanted to possess. If something happened to Dooin this time, there would certainly be no less than one person to settle the score with. But T-gon and T were truly serious. B seized Dooin's neck and lifted him up. A strong squeeze would send him to meet his ancestors instantly, though in an extremely dire situation. Jun remained remarkably calm, wondering why he was being strangled. Should he resist? Could he? Why is he trying to kill me? What reason could there possibly be? But this serious expression, he was really serious. His eyes were cold. Even now, before he could continue, a noise from behind caught their attention. A bag of toys fell as Song-dong returned after fetching something for his pet. The scene in front startled her, but Song-tan remained calm, showing no concern for her actions. Without saying a word, Song-dong immediately pulled out a weapon and aimed it straight at him. But Tan simply raised his hand to stop the attack. There was no other way. He had to let go. Though injured, he still worried about Song-dong. She was only Class A, no match for his Class S strength. Though her actual power was weaker, Song-dong was truly tenacious. Her attack was lightning fast, the staff in her hand swiftly reaching Song Taegun's face. The impact was strong, seeming to have landed a decisive blow, but Tan managed to firmly grasp her staff. The power difference was truly too great. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't overcome the overwhelming gap. It seemed like this tense situation would never end, but suddenly, Song Tae released his grip. Dropping the weapon, he bowed earnestly. "I'm sorry." He took out a vial of healing potion and handed it to Doan to treat the wound on his neck, seemingly unaware or innocent. Doan, without a hint of concern, reached out to take it, but Song Dong, beside him, was startled. Worried, she pushed away the vial and exclaimed loudly, "How ridiculous! He just choked you, and now he immediately hands you a healing potion. What's his game?" She turned to scold Rin. "You should be careful too. Who knows what's in that vial?" Adding to that, Song Dong was right. You should be careful of Song's inexplicable actions. He's been acting strange continuously, leaving both Song Dong and Jun still puzzled about his intentions. But Tun spoke up. "I've been observing him since the hospital. He's always been with high-level hunters and monsters as if nothing were wrong. So, can I understand that he is by Park Ryan's side because the two of them have a very close relationship, but it's different with high-level monsters and the leader of Jupiter?" Ju Jin objected to that. "So what? Is it bad that I have a good relationship with them?" Song Tun replied calmly, "That's not the issue. I've seen countless hunters, and you're the only low-level hunter who can be comfortable around both monsters and high-level hunters. Normally, just a dangerous-looking dog would make everyone feel scared, especially if the dog is unleashed and approaching them. What do you think if a normal person faced a monster at a much higher level? They would feel pressured and afraid. You must have seen the strength of the Jupiter leader inside the dungeon, right? Yet you don't seem intimidated at all, even when I choked you." Talking about it, Dujit raised his hand to his neck. He thought he wasn't afraid because he had a resistance to fear, but at this moment, he was startled to realize it was not right when he intended to intimidate him. Then, when he was about to be choked, the notification window for activating the fear resistance appeared. He wondered if that skill had been activated when he sensed a certain level of fear, but it hadn't activated, not even when he was being threatened or when he turned into a demon king at SSS-Level. Perhaps his feelings had been clouded because he had become too accustomed to facing them frequently. Being fearless and unguarded, Tigan believed, was not courage. It meant that the body's danger warning system was not functioning. This was very dangerous because he wouldn't know when something became dangerous for himself without realizing it. What Tigan just said was entirely true. He didn't even remember when he almost stopped feeling fear towards danger or threats anymore. Regardless of whether the skill was activated, it felt like pressure, yet he had to face life-threatening situations too many times. The fear-resistant skill always provided him with calmness to consider everything. Perhaps it had deeply penetrated his subconscious since when T said that he was doing this just to check. He was only trying to protect Jujin, but his recent actions endangered Jujin. Therefore, Sung Dong couldn't accept that reason. She wanted to file a lawsuit against T, but hesitated because of Jujin's conciliatory attitude. However, T was embarrassed by Jujin's gentle demeanor. It seemed he had gone too far. He had nothing more to say. He took out his contact phone book and wrote down his number, then left, saying, "Just call me anytime you need help, but I hope you won't encounter a situation that requires it." That night, in the dormitory room, Jin had to rush to treat the wound on his neck. If anyone found out about this, there would certainly be trouble and a big fight after T left. He had also spent a lot of saliva just to calm Sung Dong down and keep this matter secret. Luckily, it was resolved quietly rather than causing further trouble. If the whole gang got involved, it would be a big mess. Jujin also knew that in a few years, this department head would die in a raid on the prison pit. After his death, the Jupiter gang would also lead Korea. Many people speculated that Sun Hoon-jae was involved, and the Abyss gang grew stronger to the point where people began to suspect Do-hun. Do-jin trusted his younger brother absolutely. He believed his younger brother wouldn't do such things, and if he did, there must be a legitimate reason. However, the truth behind Sung Tiv's death was completely unknown. He was a person who dealt with gangs, so there were many rumors circulating after his death. It seemed that Sung Hoon-jae's presence today, holding Song T's contact phone number, still raised many suspicions for Jujin, but he still felt that this guy was worried about him rather than threatening him. However, recalling the scene of being choked made him feel uncomfortable. He didn't know if his recent lack of fear meant that he had become desensitized. He was about to move to the training center, so Manhwa was helping him pack. Manhwa showed him an item for storing belongings like a warehouse, a rope. He had just made it and gave Manhwa a space key card so he could go to the room anytime. He always asked Manhwa to make him a psychologically reinforcing item whenever he needed it. Manhwa guessed that Jin was involved in something troublesome. Before he could ask, the wall behind him suddenly collapsed, and the person rushing in was Gim. Somehow, he broke in without using the door. Jim stormed in with a very annoyed mood, making everything chaotic. Indeed, Jin was extremely worried. Not only that, she felt utterly useless for not being able to protect him. I promised to protect you, but I couldn't do anything when you were kidnapped. And today is the same. Jim suddenly burst into tears, gripping Dujin's hand tightly, affirming that the guild leader was not here. Whatever happens, I'll protect you, I promise. Dujin warmly chuckled, gently patting her head, saying thank you. Thinking back, it was true that he had been desensitized a lot. They all cared about him so much, but he also paid more attention to himself. However, Dujin didn't know that just when he decided to pay attention to himself, danger would strike again. Jin was seriously injured while protecting Jujin. What happened that someone so powerful could harm her to this extent? But after the trouble incident with Songyun, everything ended smoothly. The matter was kept secret to avoid further trouble. After being transferred to a new residence, the animals were full of energy, while their owner seemed drained, sitting listlessly due to lack of sleep, apparently affected by the thorn-winged dragon. This species was active at night, making the owner restless during the day. Griffon's restless nature constantly disrupted. Only the little chicken showed concern for its owner. When Jujin hugged the chick, the griffin showed jealousy, but this time it met its match in Jim, irritated by its actions. So he took decisive action. It turns out it also wanted to give flowers to Jujin like the chick, but those flowers were too big. Jim felt a bit jealous of these animals who received Jujin's care and attention like a father. Jim wanted to help Jujin have a day off, but she said today was the grand opening day. Now Jin had her own building, which would surely attract many people to send their animals. Surely there would be even hunters from all over the world. Jujin wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to achieve her goal of impacting 5 people and magical creatures. And the first guest was her brother, Jay's younger twin, Diovan Tressis. It was an agreement between Jin and Jay in exchange for taking care of her animals. Jujin had introduced herself to her brother, Duan, thinking that with Lao Chi-Tat's antagonistic skills, the keyword effect would double, surely easily influencing him. However, from what she heard, Jujin could also imagine that Duan's brother must be equally dangerous. To avoid unfortunate events, Jujin was careful to keep Jim by her side to protect and activate the Lao Chi-Tat's antagonistic effect, indicating that the person had arrived, completely different from what Du had thought. Duan probably expected her brother to be tough and aggressive, but instead, he was a cute and charming young man with shiny blonde hair and a handsome face, his bright brown eyes shining like an earthly angel. Furthermore, Noah introduced himself as polite and calm, completely opposite to his sister's rough and aggressive nature. Thank you for the invitation. I apologize for my sister's rude behavior. I don't know the details, but I'm sure she acted very aggressively. Indeed, my brother understood well. My sister and I are twins, but we are nothing alike. Noah explained that after receiving the title, their appearance changed. It turned out to be unexpected cosmetic surgery. Both Duan and Noah were members of a guild in France. He was still young, only 19 years old, similar to Du Han, who had built his own guild since he was very young. Noah's guild was a small one specializing in support skills, as he only had healing and support skills, making it difficult to expand reputation. Despite being young, he had to take care of everything because his sister was not helpful at all. Only when necessary, she contacted him. It was really a resilient boy. Listening to this, Duan sympathized. I understand. Their relationship is like that. The younger brother likes to help the older sister. Looking at the younger brother in front of me, a skilled hunter, made me feel moved. Noah was handsome, polite, and useful. This time I hit the jackpot. Duan thought happily. Once influenced, he will consider me as Jay, so he will listen to me. If we become close, Du Han will have a new friend. Ahaha, I wonder if I can influence Jay too. Thinking so, Doon immediately offered to help him find a place to rest. Not only that, but she also wanted to take him to enjoy Korean cuisine. Noah said he was here for work, so he wouldn't stay long. He was very happy to be warmly cared for by both of them. Taking the opportunity, Doon made a move, suggesting help for him to rest. Noah was surprised by this sudden declaration of love. With the doubled antagonistic effect, Noah was indeed affected. Doon was overjoyed to have caught such a good catch on the opening day, but strangely, after being affected, Noah sat quietly, not saying anything. Joo-jin and Jim were busy discussing, and seeing Doon say that love words so easily. Jwin explained that it was just for work, and expressing feelings was very normal in the West. Suddenly, Noah showed an unusual expression, contrary to his initial friendliness. Now, he seemed melancholic, looking as if he was trying to contain himself from bursting out. Noah gripped the stone table so hard that it broke. Recognizing the danger, Jim reacted quickly. He grabbed Joo-jin by the collar and pulled him out of harm's way as Noah suddenly unleashed her skills, shattering the table with the force of her strike, sending Joo-jin flying away. It seemed like Joo-jin had been injured, as he lay still, while Noah stood there with an extremely dangerous expression. It appeared that he was losing control. Jin called out loudly, but Noah remained motionless, not responding. Then, she turned her fierce gaze towards Joo-jin. Without saying a word, Noah rushed towards Joo-jin in a frenzy, wanting to kill him instantly. At this moment, Joo-jin still couldn't comprehend what was happening. Clearly, she had successfully influenced him. Why was this dangerous situation occurring? What had happened to him? Jim was unconscious. Facing the power of Grade S, how could he resist or escape? Fortunately, Jim woke up just in time and used his ice power to temporarily freeze Noah's legs, halting her attack. Enraged, Jim summoned his counterattack, as he couldn't let anyone harm his uncle. The power struggle was intense, with Noah almost losing her sanity, only focused on relentlessly attacking Jim. Inadvertently, Jim was scratched by her claws, causing a minor wound. Doon was extremely worried because Jim's current experience and strength were no match for Noah's, and with Joo-jin here, she couldn't unleash her full power to fight back. Suddenly, Rhyme stumbled in, his face pale. Dazed and nearly exhausted, he collapsed, poisoned by Noah's scratch on his left arm. It seemed like this time he was done for. Perhaps Jim had lost his resistance. Noah continued her frenzied assault with her claws, while Doon shouted desperately, "Stop! Please stop!" Luckily, it worked. Noah hesitated for a second, then quickly retreated, clutching her head in pain. Something had affected her mind, causing her to lose her rationality. Doon couldn't understand what had happened, but she needed to take advantage of this moment while she still had some control. She immediately activated her gauntlet skill, attempting to connect with Noah's mind, struggling to hold her in place until someone could intervene. Hopefully, by sharing minds, she could easily dodge Noah's attacks. Noah became increasingly frenzied, but with the shared mind, Joo-jin anticipated her attacks safely. However, with the speed of Grade S, it was still too much for a Grade E to avoid deadly attacks, though she managed to evade the life-threatening ones but still got scratched by Noah's claws. Without the poison-resistant skill, she might have been doomed long ago. Though the situation was dire, Doon remained calm, closing her eyes to focus on Noah's senses, enabling her to dodge more effectively. Through spiritual empathy, Joo-jin read Noah's thoughts, realizing they were filled with urges to kill him. He had to kill her now. She was weaker. Her eyes now resembled those of a bloodthirsty beast, recognizing that gaze when she mistook him for someone else. Someone she hated, someone she wanted to kill instantly. Her own sister. Joo-jin was consumed by Noah's thoughts, unaware that she was now standing right in front of him with her sharp claws. This time, there was no resistance, no speed enough to dodge a Grade S attack. Surely, a Grade E's body couldn't withstand it when death was imminent. Then a golden shield suddenly manifested, blocking Noah's onslaught. Thank goodness, Sun Han arrived just in time, his defensive power thwarting Noah's attacks. Joo-jin felt as if he had been pulled from the clutches of death. Shortly after, another powerful figure arrived, effortlessly pinning Noah beneath his foot. Another Grade S, bad boy Sun Han. Like Noah, she couldn't resist against his overwhelming strength. The leader of the Jupiter Society, Jae, casually with his hands in his pockets, looked down at Noah with a superior air. On the other side, Jin hurriedly ran to Jim, the toxin having penetrated quite deeply. Worried for Doon, who was trying to persuade her uncle not to come any closer, stating that the antidote wouldn't work. Doon took her hand, reassuring her, "Don't worry, little one, I have poison resistance." Once again, Doon demonstrated another of her abilities to Jae, who chuckled with amusement. "Poison resistance? It must be at least grade S," he commented. "You indeed have many talents," he added, seeming more and more interested in acquiring Jin for himself. The threat to Jin's life caused by Noah's actions couldn't be overlooked, considering the chaos she could cause. Thinking about how mischievous she had become since arriving in Korea, he decided to deal with her right then and there. Jae's gaze was cold and serious, warning that the consequences of touching his favorite would be severe. Seeing Jae's seriousness, Jin quickly intervened. "I appreciate your help, but please don't harm my guest." Jae sneered. "I don't think you should say that with that expression." He stepped on the ground beneath Noah's feet as Jae spoke seriously. "Are you really protecting your client despite the current situation? You're indeed out of options, Hanjin." Before Noah could respond, Jae continued, accepting Noah's request under Jin's protection. "All right, speak. I want to know what happened." Jin immediately called GS. "I'll check on that right away." Noah flinched at the sound of her sister's voice on the phone, shrinking back in fear as if a frightened child being abused. Worrying Jin. "JS knows her younger brother attacked you," Jay calmly relayed the information. Noah's reactions were increasingly terrifying, while Jin could sense through their mental connection the deep-seated fear in Noah. "Yes, she only did it because he was scared," Jay added. Another surprising revelation for Jin was Noah's stats. Despite his usual level being only at level A, Noah somehow reached the S tier, which was normally deemed impossible. While Donghan could attain the S tier because his stats ranged from A to S, Noah's case was entirely different. Noah has somehow bypassed the limits, breaking through to the S tier after only 3 years since the dungeons were opened. Jin wondered what Noah had done to achieve such perfection, and why Noah reacted violently after assessing that her perceived opponent, their sister, was in a vulnerable position. What did JS do to haunt him like this? Jin pondered. Looking at the two siblings, Jin speculated that Jin was also being manipulated by her younger brother, igniting his emotions once again. He rushed to attack, pushing Jin aside for Piss to support Noah. Facing Jay, Noah now seemed nothing more than a toy, also at S tier like Jay, but with a significant difference in class that made it easy for Jay to control him. Jay observed something amiss in Noah, but Jin was now serious. "I still need an answer for what you've done in your capacity as the captain," Jin demanded. "Is this the arm that injured Part Jim?" Jin asked, ready to dismember Noah's arm. However, to Jin's surprise, Noah somehow managed to attack from behind, transforming into a dragon. Jin was alarmed to see his younger brother poisoned, but Jay remained calm. "Poison? No problem. Just chop it off before it spreads," Jay stated, decisively cutting away the poisoned area. Jin knew it wasn't over and hastily called Song Tan for assistance. Noah, still in agony, held his head, groaning in pain. His body continued to transform, sprouting wings and replacing his beautiful brown eyes with the cold, reptilian gaze of a dragon. His body had almost entirely transformed into that of a dragon, completing his metamorphosis. Jin couldn't believe what had happened. It was his first time witnessing such an incredible sight, his brother transforming into a dragon. Now everything moving before him was an enemy needing to be slaughtered with his wide wings as he flew up high, then dove straight towards the biggest threat. Jinwoo smirked confidently. "Now he's a monster. You can kill him," Jun said casually, activating lamb willow leaves to create countless flying leaves to shield Noah from Jay's view. However, Noah accidentally crashed into a falling roof in his attempt to fly upwards, causing it to collapse. In an instant, Du Hyan stood right beside them with both hands gripping his sword, ready to strike. He was completely passive this time, likely to be struck down by Jin's sword, but Du Hyan's blow only disabled one of Noah's wings. Noah groaned in pain from the poisoned wound, blood spurting out, But Do-hyun anticipated it this time, using his dark flame to simply vaporize it, even though Noah had transformed into a high-class dragon. The disparity was evident, and Noah's defeat was predicted beforehand. It was just a matter of how he would die. Dylan coldly swung his sword. This is for my brother. Pay with your life. Facing imminent death, Noah seemed to regain some semblance of consciousness and a fierce desire to live, making him stand up against all odds. I'm also an S tier, he muttered, and a glimmer of light flickered, causing Doon to pause for a moment. Activating his healing hand to mend Noah's wound quickly, he roared angrily underfoot as a magic circle appeared, fully restoring his body, revitalizing his fighting spirit. Noah once again took the offensive, charging forward.